The technology market is an exceptionally competitive one, and what better example to give than in the mobile phone industry. Last week, Nokia reported that it predicts another transition period as it tries to reposition itself to challenge Apple's iPhone. Well, on the line to discuss this with me and gauge a reaction from a financial markets perspective is Danske Markets Head of Credit Analysis and Nokia Specialist, Louis Landeman. Louis, thanks very much for joining me today. 6 consecutive losses in a row now for Nokia. They've sacked tens of thousands of staff and they're still yet to produce a unit or service that really challenges Apple's iPhone. What's going wrong in your opinion?
Well, I think the basic problems is that they are not producing products that consumers like, to put it bluntly. And I mean, that's the reason for the huge success of Apple. I mean, and how they managed to turn around the whole smartphone market and basically reinventing it. And I think since that happened a few years ago, Nokia has been struggling to kind of regain momentum, but so far they have failed to do that. We have now the new Windows 8-based phones that are on the way out. But in the meantime, we had a weak Q3, and quite likely that also the fourth quarter will be kind of as they call it, a transitional quarter where basically consumers are not buying the current phones because they know that the new ones are coming, and so there will be yet another quarter of waiting, and in the meantime, the competitors move on. So once those products are there, it's a big question mark whether, they will actually be able to get any big momentum for these new phones.
Now, Nokia's net worth has dropped to 3.6 billion euros from 4.2 billion euros. Its reserves have diminished by almost half in the last 5 years. Unlike Spain, it's not likely to get a bailout of any kind. Could we see a potential buyout or maybe even liquidation of the company?
Yeah, I mean, definitely that's a risk that we see. The good thing is, of course, that they have some businesses that are quite interesting and could, as you say, attract potential buyer interest. We have, for example, a huge patent portfolio, and that is, of course, becoming increasingly interesting as you have a lot of cross-licensing going on, and that could have a strategic interest for example, a company like Microsoft. So that's been something that has been speculated, at least in the past, that Microsoft at some point in time could make a bid for Nokia. But as you say, there is also more of a potential negative scenario where basically you don't have any buyers stepping in, and in that case, the company, of course, needs to turn around itself and start to generate cash flow rather than burning cash every quarter. And under our most stressed scenario, we could actually see a risk that the company would kind of run down on a low cash position towards the end of next year, which would be ahead of the bond maturity that they have in February 2014. And of course, in that type of scenario, you cannot exclude a restructuring.
Apple are obviously enjoying sales from the iPhone 5, but Nokia has the new Lumia 920 and 820 arriving in the US and Europe in November. Can Nokia still turn things around and get investors excited about products they once produced with great success?
I think they definitely can. I mean, of course, they have a kind of backing of Microsoft, and of course, that's a very important player in the industry. So, of course, with their help, it may be that they get these products out and that consumers really find them interesting. But of course, the problem is as you have kind of lost the existing customers, it is increasingly tough to regain them. So in that case, you have to kind of show something that is new, very exciting. And I'm not sure that these Lumia phones are kind of exciting enough that they're offering something that that Apple or iPhone or a Samsung phone can't produce for the consumers. So I think it will be tough. It will need a lot of marketing and a lot of convincing to turn around consumers.
Finally, Louis, the technology market is, as I've mentioned before, very competitive. What advice and predictions, perhaps, do you have going forward for traders and investors interested in this area?
Well, I'm on the credit side of things, so we have recommendation on Nokia's bonds, and we actually, in terms of the euro bonds, we still have a sell recommendation both on the 14th and the 19th, because we think that they are not pricing in enough the risks that we see related to Nokia. If you would look to invest in Nokia, we'd rather recommend US dollar bond 2019 that we think is trading at a more interesting cash price. But again, I do think that there are a lot of risks related to this company, and so we actually overall maintain a sell recommendation.
Well, that's all we've got time for today. I'll be back tomorrow with an overview of the Australia CPI data, but until then, goodbye.